You're listening to the Rodney Anderson Radio Show, right here on 1190 AM.
Today we've got a great show planned because Gail Goodman, out of New York, is going to be joining us. She is a customer service extraordinaire.
All right.
So we're going to be asking her a bunch of questions and talking about the overall service industry. Have you ever went into the store and you just got the worst service?
Oh, yes.
Or you walked in there and you're waiting to buy something, but nobody will seem to help you. She is the customer service extraordinaire. Her name is Gail Goodman, and Gail is the recognized national expert on telephone skills training. I guess you just got to have a great person named Gail, because our director of First Impressions for 21 years at our office here has been Gail.
It's true. Is that a coincidence?
So I guess that's just one heck of a name.
Oh, I got a theory here.
She has developed structured analysis of the appointment-setting phone call so that all direct salespeople can master this critical skill. Gail Goodman is the recognized national expert on telephone skills training, which so many people need.
Oh, my gosh.
Man, when you call and get number 1 or number 2 or 3 or 4, you can't speak a lick of English.
Oh, no, man. You talked about going in the store being upset. Don't mention that phone. Oh.
Being a great salesperson is so critical. And so we want to bring Gail in. She doesn't need any introduction because she's like the world leader in customer service. Welcome to the show this afternoon, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
Man, we are excited to have you.
Thank you.
So nowadays, Gail, people tend to email or text instead of picking up the phone to communicate. What are a couple things that people can do today to change that habit? Because it seems like with kids and all your coworkers, and what's wrong with the phone?
Well, there's nothing wrong with the phone. What has happened in our culture is that there's another shiny new coin in town, and it's the digital communication that everybody seems to be in love with. You have to admit, there is much more speed when you want to text something quickly to somebody that doesn't really require a response. My opinion is that that has become such a habit that now everybody has, 1, avoided the phone, 2, when they pick up the phone, they're terrible, and 3, because they're terrible, they can't get their needs or their goals met through human-to-human communication, so it becomes sort of a self-feeding cycle.
How many businesses do you see, Gail, fail strictly because of telephone communication?
I work primarily in an industry that really pushes phone calling, setting phone appointments. The problem is I experience it more as a consumer. And I don't want to get into something that upset me today, but there are circumstances that we all encounter, and I probably count them, and I'm more conscious of them because of the work that I do, where a simple phone call could have ended a series of annoying circumstances, but nobody chooses to pick up the phone.
One of the things that we do at our office here is when you call from 7:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, when you call from 8 to 1 every Saturday, you're getting a live person. I hate voicemail. Many people, they love this thing called voicemail. And so, Gail, has voicemail really hurt businesses, do you think? And would they be more profitable businesses if they would eliminate some of the voicemails and have a direct line to their company?
The quick answer is yes, but there's an asterisk next to it. The problem is that the cost of the labor becomes so high that the secondary solution is, well, we want to have a live person on the phone, but what about the fact that if you have a live person that's an incompetent idiot, that may be worse than having a voicemail that can't, like the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm.
Right.
Voicemail does no harm. But a really bad customer service person who picks up the phone, I mean, there is a gas company that I will forever be angry with because, and you know.
Oh, go ahead. Call them out, Gail. Call them out.
No. I don't want to get anybody pissed at me. That are. But I'll tell you what. I mean, I tell this story because look, I'm an expert. I'm supposed to know better. And the first thing I could tell everybody is when you're angry, don't pick up the phone, which I did. But then because I got really a non-American twit, I could tell you where she was. I'm like really, really, really good with accents, so I know exactly where she was. She was in the Philippines. I could tell her age also because I'm really good with voices. And here I am, the phone expert, and I'm fighting with this idiot for 45 minutes. At some point, Luckily, my better self finally walked in the room and said, "Get off the phone. Your blood pressure is going to turn into a stroke." And I hung up. This is so true, and it's so American of a story. I hung up, called back, got an American customer service rep. It was over in 7 minutes. I tell the story all the time.
Yeah, I had a guy call me today because we have a lending company, Gail, and I had a gentleman call me today and talk to me about refinancing his home, and it wasn't worth it for him.
Right.
So I said, and he's like, I'm getting all these numbers from all these companies, and I'm like, sir, they're all trying to take your money. I would love to take your money, but it's not worth it for you. And this guy was one of the heads of sales for IBM.
Oh, really?
And he purposely, this was great. I told him it's not worth it. He called me back 5 minutes later and said, I just want to tell you, you gained a customer for life, and whenever I get a home loan ever again, I'm coming back because that just proved to me that you're doing the right thing. And if you take that customer service approach of doing the right things for your customers with these skills, it's not just skills, it's always doing the right thing for your customer, because my mentor always told me, never worry about how much money you're making, only worry about how many people you're helping, and then you'll make plenty of money.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's a good motto. That's really good. The challenge, though, is not just do what's best for the customer, because I could tell you my 45-minute tussle with this young lady over the phone. She was really trying to help me. There were several problems with that. One is she wasn't well trained.
Right.
Two,
first of all,
my biggest complaint, and I'm not an anti-international person, and I'm not an isolationist, but here's the challenge. Just because you speak English doesn't mean you speak American. And I have tried to share that with telemarketing managers. If I go to England, they don't think I speak their English either. Right. And that's the point. They speak the Queen's English, we speak American English, and all these other countries try to, with a non-American telephone supervisor, teach the words to say, but if you put them together, they actually don't work for the American ear. It's really subtle. But all these people getting annoyed, it's like the people running these telemarketing operations don't realize that just because these people speak English doesn't mean they know how to relate to Americans. That was what was going on. It was the most extraordinary, stupid thing I've done in a long time, because I continued to try to engage her. And at one point, I said to her, in a very loud, not nice voice, I said, "Young lady, if you were in my class, I would have failed you because I teach this stuff." Which just shows you how absolutely insane I got.
Hey, you're just not a
but
quitter.
I'm just an American customer when I'm on the phone. I'm not a teacher.
That's all. You're not a quitter. That's not insane. You just didn't want to give up.
So what are some ways, Gail, what would have been her way, and what would have been other ways for people to improve their customer skills and their phone, more importantly, their phone skills?
Right. Well, there's two sides to the story, and I do talk about both sides. As a customer, I could have done a better job and controlled the situation more than most customers think they can. Number one, I should have never called when I was mad. Okay. Number two, you have to write down what your goal is and what you're trying to get out of this interaction. And number three, if the person that you're talking to isn't working, at this point, this is where the story got crazy. I did exactly what I teach, which is I asked for her supervisor. She kept putting me on hold for in excess of 5 minutes, because I keep track of these things, and came back and said there's no supervisor. So my next step was undeliverable for myself, at which point I should have hung up in the beginning and tried to get somebody else. But you have to keep going up the line. My sister, who is older than me but listens to me around this stuff, actually has written a letter to the president of Sirius XM to get her $63 back, because every time she went up the line, she didn't get satisfaction. Now, she did finally, but what ends up happening for that corporation is her feelings about them are very bad, and we all know what unhappy customers do. They complain louder than happy customers. So, from the other side of the phone, the first thing you have to do is not repeat everything the other person says and then say, "I'm so sorry, you are upset, Mrs. Goodman." You got to cut that out, because Americans don't appreciate the apology without the delivery of the goods.
Right, don't patronize.
And that chronic apologizing upsets us.
Yes, do not patronize.
Yeah, so that's it, because it's an empty apology, and if your children have done it and you get mad as a parent, somebody doing it to you, adult to adult, just brings out all those "don't do this to me" kind of feelings. The other thing is that unfortunately, a lot of these operations are not properly manned. They don't have enough bodies. They don't have enough supervisors. And yet they have so many people who are the first line that cannot solve the problem. There aren't enough supervisors. The challenge becomes, and you know this as a consumer, but unfortunately corporations don't learn it, which is penny wise and pound foolish. They're saving money, quote unquote, by moving these operations offshore, and they're getting terrible, terrible relations with their customers.
And Gail, I understand that you are consulting more and more millennials as they enter the work.
About millennials, I wish I could consult with millennials. I consult with their upset bosses.
As these people enter the workplace, what has that experience been like?
There's a real intergenerational challenge going on in many corporations. I hear these stories even from my own friends, where they're in a company where their coworker is, let's say if my friend is a boomer and the other person is a millennial, their attitude is, why can't they just pick up the phone or walk over to my desk? Whereas if I speak to the millennials, they feel like these other folks, you know, the Xers and the boomers, why can't they just text me and tell me what the problem is? Right. The problem that I'm experiencing, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a mean baby boomer, is there's an entire generation which has exceeded the size of the baby boomers, by the way. I just read that. The millennials are larger than we were, so They have influenced our society tremendously because they were born into the digital world, and we are visitors and first-time learners. It's integral and it's germane to the way they communicate. They think we are not at the modern table, and we feel that they're not at the human table. It's very, very stressful in many companies.
Yeah, and many of these companies haven't realized that there's a thing called the Internet, and with customer interaction now, I mean, people will go on, especially, in our industry, the housing market, the lending business and all that. When you go on and look at what people put on Yelp and people put on, ripoffreport.coms and the Better Business Bureaus, boy, bad customer service, that can haunt that business for a very long time with what's on the Internet.
Yes, and the other problem is you don't know if those are real or if those are people that are just trying to ruin your business because they're your competitors. Now, my sister recently purchased a car, and I helped her to do that because I'm in sales, and like most people who aren't, they're afraid of car salespeople because they're scary. We use the Internet a lot to do our research, but we read other people's reviews of the car. We took some of the dealer reviews with a grain of salt, but if everything is negative, it makes you believe that you should avoid that particular car dealer. And I don't know if those are liars or they're competitors, but when everything is negative, you want to avoid that dealer.
And I understand that, but when people dig in deep and you read that online, you can kind of feel their passion and everything else.
Right.
And these companies' reputations, because I told Rob yesterday on the show, going out and getting a loan is like speed dating, to a certain point. You find this person and you click online, and then you don't know if they're going to show up or not.
Right.
And everything else. We got to take a break. I'd love to have you back in just a few moments because I want to take you through, you've got a list of some basic things that people need to discuss with their teams. When we come back, more of Gail Goodman, customer service extraordinaire. She is fantastic. And it breaks all down to one simple area. How do you handle your customers? But the one question also that I'll ask Gail is, does everybody have to be your customer, or can you fire them? Because the definition of my success that I think is not everybody has to be your customer. We'll take that and a whole lot more. 1-800-EXPRESS is our number, 1-800-397-7377. That and a whole lot more when we come back with more of the Rodney Anderson Radio Show.
You're listening to the Rodney Anderson Radio Show, right here on 1190 AM.
1-800-EXPRESS, 1-800-397-7377. You can reach us on there. Some of the questions coming in and some of the comments coming in. I love Gail. She tells it how it is.
Oh, gosh, if you didn't feel that story about the phone call.
Yeah.
You've never been on the phone call.
So, Gail, you're very popular with all of our listeners today.
Because I feel like the guy in Network. I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking any more.
That's right.
There you go.
It's like, come on, can everybody just get on the phone and talk like normal human beings? People also, unfortunately, when they get on the phone, I'll tell you another story. I got enough stories about my business and my life that I could fill a book. The fact is that I'm out of town. Somebody calls me and says they want help with training their customer service people and their agents. It's a property and casualty company. Who doesn't want to get a phone call like that, right? And he doesn't leave his phone number in any kind of a reasonable way. I had to back it up 7 to 10 times. Still couldn't get his number.
Oh.
Had to wait till I got home to look at the caller ID. I'm like, really? You don't know that leaving your phone number slowly and clearly is the only way you're going to get me to call you back?
Critical.
Does everybody has to be your customer, or can you fire people?
I think it's hard when you're starting a business to be discriminating. When you're starting a business, and I remember when I started my business like it was yesterday, and I work a lot with new financial advisors, your attitude is, if they can fog a mirror, I want them, which is reasonable. But as you get older and wiser and handle the general public, most people don't know this, but now because I'm on your radio station, they all will. But in my first lifetime, in my first career, I worked in psychiatry. And one of the things that I say in my classes when you deal with the general public is the following. Not all the crazy people are locked up. That helps everybody, you know, like if it doesn't walk and quack like a duck, it ain't a duck. So if it's somebody who strikes you as somebody who is crazy, they probably are. And to pursue crazy people makes you crazy.
Hey, and I'll have to give you an example. We had a guy call our office a couple weeks ago and talk to Seth. Told him first thing, shut up.
Whoa.
Seth is one of our telephone, our assistants that is fantastic. Told us, shut up.
Shut up.
Then he started asking him a few questions. He said, it's none of your business. Then he kept ridiculing. So finally filled out a little bit of information. And the first thing I called him up and I said, sir, I want to walk through a few notes that are on this sheet. Did you say this to Seth? Well, I didn't mean to. I was a little bit over and above.
That's a yes.
You know what, sir? I'm sorry. If you're going to treat my employees this way, you're not going to be my customer. I don't want your business. You're fired.
Yeah.
I mean, because...
Well, that guy was outrageous. And here's the problem, which is why I say to people, don't be on the phone when you're angry, because he presented himself in a way that when you called him on it, he semi-apologized by saying, well, you know. But the problem is when you're in a general dealing with the public kind of position, people call you and do all kinds of abusive things. Even on my website, I have a very, very short video for customer service people on how to deal with abusive people. At some point, supervisors need to tap their customer service people on the phone, and there needs to be a hand signal that says, let it go.
Oh, I got a hand signal that I use quite frequently.
Yeah, I got a hand signal, too.
Yeah. I'm sitting there. They don't know I'm on the other line with my hand signal.
Totally. You have to be able to say to your people, I give you permission to cut the rope and let this guy sink. Don't throw him a lifesaver. Let him sink. We are not in the business of dealing with abusive, crazy people. You have to have respect for me, for the work that I'm going to do for you. And with what you do, it's even more critical. For crying out loud, you're helping me buy a house? Really? I'm going to be mean to you, and you're going to help me get my dream.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the money.
Right.
You need money.
Exactly.
I have the money. I've never walked into a bank to borrow money and been mean. So
Yeah.
I don't get that philosophy. Gail, how important is it for everybody in a business to answer the phone consistently?
It's very important, and I have, as you may have read in some of the things I've written, I have a pet peeve, and that is when your hello for an inbound call is too long, you're actually irritating the person before they interact with you. For example, if I call, 1-800-BABY-CRIBS, and I'm looking to ask questions about baby cribs because I found out I'm pregnant, when you answer the phone and say, hi, thank you for calling Beautiful Baby Cribs. We're so happy to help you. Happy pregnancy.
Okay.
This is Jenna. By the time I hear Jenna, I want to put my hands around her throat. I've given birth already, Jenna. Don't be that long. So, these very long-winded, have a nice day, it's a beautiful day here in La La Land. You want to say the name of your company and have that person who picks up identify themselves. I had a problem, who's surprised at this, with the government of New York State. I'm trying to dissolve a not-for-profit for a year. Every time I send in the paperwork, they send it back to me. There's always one thing wrong. So I fixed that. Now they send it back. There's another thing wrong. Then I find out the document I got from the state was wrong. So I am losing it. And I break my own rules all the time, but then, of course, I yell at myself. Here's what happened. I call somebody at New York State. She answers the phone appropriately. This was the good part. And immediately identifies herself. I write her name down. Now it is Gail and Holly on the phone. It is not Gail fighting this kind of nondescript New York State bureaucratic institution. She was very helpful. I was very mad. She was very good. Nice. She did everything right. And I was grateful, because not because I'm the phone teacher, but because I was an annoyed citizen. So she did everything right. She quickly identified the department and said her name and didn't say, how can I help you, which is implied. So every extra word actually irritates your customer base. Why are you doing all that?
Yeah,
makes sense.
You know, you get people, sometimes I'll never forget, I always talk really nice to people normally on the phone.
Right.
One guy, this guy was irritating the heck out of me. So I put him on hold, and I said a few choice words, and Russell Dobbs worked for me at that time, and Russell said, "Are you going to put him on hold?" And I looked back at the phone, no, and I had put him on hold, but he had said, "Are you going to put him on hold?" And you should have seen the fear in my,
he thought he was still listening.
He thought he was just playing a joke on me, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, and that's so true, Gail. The last thing you want to do is when people call your office, you want to go on and on about all this stuff. I just use the old saying, "What's up?"
Right.
Yeah, what's up?
Right.
Yeah,
I even get sick of the drive-through. The drive-through speaker now has to do a pre-recorded, "Hey, would you like to try something before someone can even talk to you?"
Yeah, you go to McDonald's.
I don't want that.
You go to McDonald's and you think you're getting a live voice.
Right. Would you like to try our something 79.9 special for something? Hello, may I help you?
Have you guys gone to the post office recently? I was standing there. I always bring an 8.5 by 13 envelope, media mail with my script book, my CDs, my products in it. I've got everybody in my very small, wonderful post office in Bedford Hills trained. And I watch this guy, who is a wonderful guy. He's hitting the screen and hitting it. And finally one day I said to him, "Lenny, why do you hit the screen so much?" He said, "I have to reject about 10 options before I can get to what you want." And I thought, who made this stupid software?
Well, no
And
kidding.
what it does is it takes longer per person because of what he has to do. I walk up, every single person there knows I always do the same thing. Media mail, there's nothing in it. We don't have to ask me the 15 questions of, is it dangerous, dangerous, dangerous? And they know me. It's unbelievable how their own ingrown system makes the customer interaction too long.
Yes.
Are you doing things because you haven't looked at it that are taking too long, where you could be cutting everything shorter and making the goal faster?
Yes, life is
That's
not
what
easy
people
going.
need to look at.
Life's not easy going like it used to be. We don't have time for all that anymore.
So
everybody's attention span is like a gnat. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so Gail has Facebook and social media. How's that affected customer service?
Well, I'm not an expert on social media. I'm really not. The only problem is because of social media, your reputation can be destroyed in, 24 hours.
No, one mistake.
I'd be careful.
One mistake.
Yeah, I think also with customer service with employees. I mean, a lot of times you're on the phone with somebody and the employee's on the Facebook. And they're more worried about what's going on this, on everything on the updates versus are they liking me? Yeah. Rather than, hey, is my customer liking me?
Right.
Or things, I think, and companies can get destroyed on Facebook. Gail, where can everybody find your products, your videos, all your stuff? You're absolutely fantastic. We want to have you back again.
Well, I absolutely would, because I had a good time, too. The easiest way to find anything I was talking about is at www.phoneteacher.com.
That's easy. Phoneteacher.com.
Yeah, just think of me as your phone teacher. I feel like I'm America's phone teacher.
Awesome. All right. Well, you are absolutely fantastic. Thanks for taking your Friday afternoon to be with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Have a wonderful weekend, Gail.
Thank you.
Take care.
She's great.
Man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So relatable. So relatable.
Yeah, so anybody that's driving down the road right now, if you're in customer service, you're a small business owner, anything like that, go on to our website, phoneteacher.com, phoneteacher.com.